Hello, my friend. Today, we learn English with the inspiring story of a man who turned his dreams into a kingdom of magic. A man who proved that imagination can change the world. This is the story of Walt Disney, the man who brought happiness to millions, who turned a simple mouse into a global symbol of hope, and who taught us that dreams really do come true. Walt Disney's story begins in a small farmhouse in Missouri, USA. He was born on December 5th, 1901. His family was poor, and his father, Elias Disney, worked hard just to feed the children. But little Walt had something special, a heart full of imagination. While other kids played outside, Walt would sit and draw pictures of animals, trains, and people. He loved to dream, even when life gave him little to smile about. When Walt was just a boy, his family moved to Kansas City. There, he delivered newspapers with his brother, Roy. Every morning, before the sun rose, Walt would walk through the cold streets, his hands freezing, his feet tired. But even in those hard mornings, his mind was filled with stories. He dreamed of drawing for a living. He dreamed of making something that would make people happy. At school, Walt wasn't the best student. He often got distracted by his imagination. His teachers thought he wasn't serious, but Walt saw the world differently. He didn't see lines on paper. He saw possibilities. He didn't just want to draw. He wanted to bring his drawings to life. After growing up, Walt decided to follow his dream. He started working as an artist, but things were not easy. His first company, called Laugh-O-Gram Films, went bankrupt. He had no money, no team, and no home. He was hungry, tired, and ready to give up. But deep inside, something whispered, "Keep going. Your dream is not over yet." So, Walt packed his suitcase and moved to California with only a few dollars in his pocket and a head full of ideas. There, with the help of his brother Roy, he started a new company, Disney Brothers Studio. It was small, just a few desks, but it was built on something powerful: hope. In 1928, something magical happened. Walt created a little mouse. He called him Mickey. The world had never seen anything like it. Mickey Mouse wasn't just a cartoon. He was alive, full of energy, kindness, and joy. Mickey became an instant success. Children loved him, parents smiled, and theaters filled with laughter. But Walt didn't stop there. He believed that success wasn't a finish line. It was a door to even greater dreams. He wanted to create the first full-length animated movie, something the world thought was impossible. People laughed at him. They said, "Walt, no one will watch a cartoon for an hour." But Walt didn't listen. He believed in the power of stories. For years, he worked day and night on his project. He put everything he had into it: his time, his money, his heart. And in 1937, the world watched history. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs became the first ever animated feature film. When the movie ended, the audience stood and applauded. Walt cried. He had done it. He had turned a dream into reality. After that, Disney's world grew bigger and brighter. He created classics like Cinderella, Pinocchio, Bambi, and Peter Pan. Each story carried a message of courage, love, and hope. But Walt's imagination had no limits. He wanted to create not just movies, but a place, a world, where people could step inside the magic. And so, the idea of Disneyland was born. People thought he was crazy. A theme park for families, with castles and characters? They laughed. But Walt didn't care. He could see it in his mind. He saw smiling faces, children laughing, dreams coming alive. Building Disneyland wasn't easy. Walt faced money problems, construction delays, and endless stress. He poured everything he had into the park, even mortgaging his own house. But he never stopped believing. And finally, in 1955, Disneyland opened in California. On opening day, Thousands of people entered the park. There were castles, rides, music, and joy everywhere. For the first time, people could walk inside a dream. Walt stood quietly, watching families smile, children holding balloons, and couples laughing together. He whispered, "This is what it's all about." Disneyland became a symbol of imagination and happiness. But Walt still wasn't done. He dreamed of creating an even bigger world, a futuristic city filled with innovation and creativity. That dream later became Walt Disney World in Florida. Even as he grew older, Walt never lost his childlike wonder. He kept dreaming, planning, imagining. But in 1966, at the age of 65, Walt Disney passed away. The world cried. It was as if the magic had gone silent. But in truth, Walt never really left. His dreams continued to live. In every movie, every theme park, every smile. Walt Disney once said, "If you can dream it, you can do it." These words weren't just a quote. They were his life. He showed that imagination is not a waste of time. It's the beginning of creation. He showed that failure is not the end. It's just a lesson on the way to success. His story teaches us something powerful, that dreams are not born from comfort, but from struggle. Walt faced rejection, bankruptcy, and doubt. But every time he fell, he stood up again. Every no pushed him closer to a yes. Every failure became fuel for his next idea. Behind every magical world he created, there was a man who refused to give up. A man who believed that happiness could be built, drawn, and shared. A man who turned imagination into an empire. Think about this, my friend. Every time you see Mickey Mouse, every time you hear a Disney song, you are not just watching a cartoon. You are touching the spirit of a dreamer. Someone who believed that no dream is too big and no dreamer is too small. When you watch The Lion King, Frozen, or Toy Story, remember, it all began with one man's pencil and one small mouse. Walt Disney's story is not just about cartoons. It's about courage. It's about holding on to your vision when the world laughs at you. It's about believing in yourself even when nobody else does. When life gets hard, remember Walt's journey. Remember how he started with nothing, how he failed many times, and how he turned every failure into a lesson. Remember that he was told, "It can't be done," but he proved that it could. Success, as Walt showed us, is not about luck. It's about persistence, passion, and purpose. It's about daring to dream, even when you're afraid. It's about building something beautiful out of the ashes of your mistakes. Walt Disney taught us that imagination is not a luxury. It's a power. The power to create worlds, to inspire hearts, and to change lives. So the next time you doubt your dream, think of Walt Disney. Think of that little boy drawing on scraps of paper and the man who built castles from his imagination. He believed in the magic of dreams, and maybe, just maybe, that's what we all need to believe in too. Years after his death, Walt's company grew into one of the biggest entertainment empires in the world. His parks expanded across countries, his characters became legends, and his name became eternal. But the real success was not in money or fame. It was in hearts, in every child who smiles, in every adult who remembers their childhood again. Walt Disney lives. He once said, "Laughter is timeless, imagination has no age, and dreams are forever." Those words capture the spirit of everything he stood for. And maybe that's the most beautiful part. Walt Disney never stopped being a dreamer. Even now, his dream continues to inspire people across the world. People like you, listening to this story, learning English, growing, believing. Because the greatest language of all is the language of dreams.